Shalom Aleichem, welcome to the Shir in Lakotei Sichos, Chelek Tezayin, Parshas Yisroi, Sicha Hey. This Sicha is about the Sugi of Tosfos Shabbos, and we are going to focus Be'ikr on Ois, Dalid, Hey, and Vov. So basically in Ois Dalid, the Rebbe presents a three-sided Chakira into how to understand the din of Tosfos Shabbos. He says that din meisif and mechal lakodesh can learn after Yefanim. So in the pnim of the Sicha, he presents three Yefanim. But then in the ha'aras of the Sicha, as the Sicha progresses, as we move forward in the Sicha, the Rebbe seems to slightly change the three Yefanim a couple of times. And the Chakira changes as the Sicha goes on. So actually in total, we have four different Eifanim to learn this Chakira. And since the Chakira itself has three Eifanim, so it turns out that we might have even a total of 12 different Eifanim in how to understand Tosfos Shabbos. So we're going to go through this, Be'ezer Hashem, and we're also going to see what is the Shita of the Alter Rebbe in the din of Tosfos Shabbos. Okay, so let's start. So in Sif Dalid, in the Pnim, the Rebbe brings, as we said, that there are three Eifanim how to understand Tosfos Shabbos. The first one is, Sis da mitzvah af dem Adam, as darf auf sich mekabel sein a Tosfos l'Shabbos. Nit zu tun dan kein melacha. So the first way is that the din of Tosfos Shabbos is a mitzvah on the person, that the person should be mekabel on himself the din of Tosfos Shabbos, which means to not do melacha. And according to this Eifen, if a person was over on the tzivoy and was not mekabel on himself Tosfos Shabbos, so then there is no Tosfos Shabbos for him, and he's allowed to do melacha until Bein Hashmashos. So that's the first tzad. It's a tzivoy on the person to be mekabel on himself Tosfos Shabbos, and Tosfos Shabbos means nitzutan kein melacha. The second oifen is afilu when der mensch is nit mekabel auf sich Tosfos Shabbos, even if the person is not mekabel on himself, is afem chal der isur from melechas Shabbos in zman ha'tisavos bal korchoi. Nevertheless, the idea of Tosfos Shabbos is chal bal korchoi, and again, the idea of Tosfos Shabbos is isur melechas Shabbos. Das heißt, Torah hat geaset zu tun melacha as man mesuyim for Shabbos. That Tosfos Shabbos is not tolui in the Kabbalah of the person, even without the person accepting it upon himself. Torah bal korchoi is making that it should be chal Tosfos Shabbos, that you cannot do melacha in that amount of time before Shabbos. So these are the first two tzadim, and the Rebbe explains that the tzad hashava between these two tzadim is that Tosfos Shabbos is only a chiyuv on the gavra, that he is not allowed to do melacha. But Tosfos Shabbos doesn't change the actual cheftza of the zman. The cheftza of the zman before Shabbos is unchanged. The whole din Tosfos Shabbos is on the gavra, that he cannot do melacha. But in this gufa there was two eifanim. The first eifan was that it's only chal if the person is mekabel upon himself Tosfos Shabbos. But if the person is not mekabel Tosfos Shabbos, it's not chal. And the second way was it's chal bal korchei. Even if the person is not mekabel upon himself, it's chal anyway. But both ways, the first two ways hold that it's only a din on the gavra, that he cannot do melacha. Then comes Adriter Eifen. This is the third way, that the Yisaf Michal HaKodesh kommt von Shabbos allein. Ubesignen hayodua, die Cheftze von Shabbos is meisif milafonov umila'acharov. Die Kedusha Shabbos wird nispashet milafonov umila'acharov. Uvemele is der Odem demot also basiyas malacha. So the third oifen says it's not a din on the gavra on the person, it's a din mitzad Shabbos itself. Kilu in the cheftza of this man, that Shabbos itself is mispashet milafonov and mila'acharov, that the kedusha of Shabbos is spread into the Zman before Shabbos, and the Zman before Shabbos changes to become a Zman which is now Kodesh B'Kedushas HaShabbos, and so B'meile Asiyas Malacha is also. So that's the third Eifen. So the third Eifen is saying it's not a din on the Gavra that he cannot do Malacha, it's a din in the Cheftz of the Zman. The Zman changes. How does the Zman change? Because Shabbos Gufa is Mispashet. The Kedusha of Shabbos is Mispashet, and Shabbos affects the time before it, that even the time before it becomes Kodesh, B'Kedushas HaShabbos, and B'Meila you cannot do Malacha. So that's the three Eifanim. So, just again to clarify, in the three Eifanim, yes, it's three Eifanim, but the three is really two, and the first Eifan is broken into two. The two general Eifanim is that it's a din, either that Aleph, it's a din on the Gavra, that it's all about Isur Asiyas Malacha, but the Zman itself doesn't change. And the second way is, no, that the Zman itself changes because Shabbos is Mispashet Milafonov Mila'acharov. That's the two general Eifanim. And in the first Eifen Gufa, we could say in two Eifanim, that if it's all about the Gavra, him not being able to do Malacha, that's the whole din. So then, we could say in two ways. Either it's only if the Gavra is mekabel it upon himself, it's totally in his Kabbalah, which was the first Eifen, or the second Eifen, that it's Chal Bal Korchai. So that's the two Eifanim within the first Tzad. But B'chlalos, again, we have these two ways of looking at it. That either it's only the Gabe Isra Asiyas Malacha, and it's Chal on the Gavra. It's a din on the Gavra that he cannot do Malacha. Or the second general Eifen is that it changes the Cheftz of the Zman because Shabbos is Mispashet Milafonov and Mila'achrav, and the Zman of Tosfos Shabbos becomes Kodesh. So that's in the Pnim of the Sikha. So now, if we stop there, L'chura, we could say very simple. What's the difference between the first two Eifanim and the third Eifanim? That according to the first two Eifanim, Tosfos Shabbos is not Kodesh. The Zman of Tosfos Shabbos has no Kedusha. That's the first two Eifanim. That the Zman of Tosfos Shabbos has no Kedusha. It's only a din of Isra Asiyas Malacha on the Gavra. But the third Eifen, and only according to the third Eifen, is the Zman of Tosfos Shabbos Zman Kodesh. So now he comes in Orah 24, and in Orah 24, he presents this same three-sided Chakira, but now a little bit differently. In 24 he says, Beis Eifanim Harishonim de La'el, Yeshleimer Gam Besignan Acher. And we can say that Tosfos Shabbos he loirak mitzvah. Yisur Melach ala Adam kim gam geder kedusha. We could say that actually, according to all Eifanim, even according to the first two Eifanim, Tosfos Shabbos is not just a mitzvah, a chiyuv, or a isur melacha al ha'adam, like we thought in the Pnim. No, kim gam geder kedusha. Even according to the first two Eifanim, Tosfos Shabbos also has a geder of kedusha. And with, but in this itself, again, the first two Eifanim would be im tzarech lekabel al atzmei hakdusha or yishmei le'achala. The first Eifen would say that this kedusha of Tosfos Shabbos you have to be mekabel on yourself. The second Eifen would say it's chal by itself. But according to even these first two Eifanim, the Zman itself becomes a Zman Kodesh. So then what's the Chiddush of the Eifen HaGimel? So he goes on, there's still a Chiddush in the third Eifen. Even now in that we're saying that L'chol HaTzodim, L'chol HaEifanim, there's a Din Kedusha, a Geder of Kedusha in Tosfos Shabbos. Still, the third Eifen has a Chiddush. And what's that? Ki lebeze fanim hanal eine hispashtus de kedushas Shabbos, ki im din Torah sheyesh kedusha. Als man asamach l'Shabbos. According to the first two Eifanim, the Zman of Tosfos Shabbos is not a hispashtus of kedushas Shabbos, rather ki im din Torah sheyesh kedusha. It's a din Torah that it's a Zman Kodesh. Mashenken leifen agimel shebifnim, he doesn't fear us. Mashenken, according to the third Eifin, it's not just his man Kodesh, but it's Kodesh b'Kedushas HaShabbos. It's a spashtus of Kedushas HaShabbos itself. Okay, so now let's just analyze this and break it up for a second. So in this ha'ara, he's changing, or he's presenting the three-sided Chakira a little bit differently. It's not like in the Penim, where in the first two Eifanim, the Bichlal was no Kedusha in Tosfos Shabbos. There was only a din on the Gavra of Isra Asiyas Malacha. And only according to the third Eifin was there Kedusha in Tosfos Shabbos. So in the Ha'ara, he says that we could present the Chakira differently. Perhaps according to all three Mahalchim, all three Tzdadim, this man of Tosfos Shabbos has Kedusha. It's a Zman Kodesh. That's according to all they find it. Upazeh Gufa, we could say three. We could say three Eifanim. In the first two, we're going to say that in Hachanami it's a Zman Kodesh, but that's a special din Torah. There's a special din Torah that the Zman of Tosfos Shabbos has Kedusha. It's not a hispashtus of the Kedusha of Shabbos. It's not pshat that Shabbos itself is mispashet, and therefore the Zman of Tosfos Shabbos is Kodesh b'Kedushas HaShabbos. No. Shabbos is Shabbos. Tosfos Shabbos is a holy time. It's a Zman Kodesh. But it's a din b'fnei yatzmai. It's a Kedusha b'fnei yatzmai. And in this would be the two Eifanim. Either this Kedusha is only Chal through the Kabbalah of the person, or the second Eifin would say it's Chal Bal Korchai. But according to both of those Eifanim, it's a Kedusha b'fnei yatzmai. It's not the Kedusha of Shabbos. Mashenkin, the third Eifin says that Tosfos Shabbos is, like it says in the Prim, a hispashtus of Shabbos itself. Shabbos itself is mispashet milafonov mila'achrov. So therefore that man isn't just Stam Kodesh, but it's actually Kodesh b'Kedushas HaShabbos. Okay, so that's how he learns the Chakira a little bit differently in Ha'ara 24. Okay, so before we go on, I guess parenthetically, I think it's important to be ma'ir something over here. L'chura, one might ask, why can we not say the same two Eifanim that we're saying in the beginning? That the first Eifin is it's tolui b'Kabbalah Sa'adam, and the second Eifin is that it's Chal even Bal Korchai. Why can't we say that also in the third part of the Chakira? The third part of the Chakira, which says that Tosfos Shabbos is a hispashtus of Shabbos itself. Shabbos itself is mispashet milafonov mila'achrov. So why can't I say in that also these two Eifanim? That could either be automatic, either that's Chal automatically, call it Bal Korchai, or it's only Chal through the person's Kabbalah. You have to be makabel upon yourself, otherwise it doesn't happen. And if I would say that, then it would turn out that we actually have four Eifanim, but it's Shtaim Shein Arba. And the Shtaim Shein Arba is that in the first general approach would be that Tosfos Shabbos is not part of Kedushas HaShabbos. Either it has no Kedusha at all, like the Pnim suggested, or it has its own Kedusha b'fnei atzma, like in the Ha'ara. But it's not the Kedusha of Shabbos. And the second general approach is to say, no, that Tosfos Shabbos is a hemshech of Shabbos. Shabbos is mispashet milafonov, and therefore it's Kodesh b'Kedushas HaShabbos. But then in each one we could say the Shtaim Shein Arba. In each one Gufa we could say the two sub-Chakiras. If you say that it's either just a din on the gavra of Isra Asiyas Malacha, or you say that it's a kedusha b'fnei atzma like in the Ha'ara. So in that gufa you could say either that's chal only al the Kabbalah of the person, or it's chal bal karcha. And then likewise in the second general tzad, that it's a hispashtus of Shabbos. So then also you could say the same two subcategories, that's either chal automatically bal karcha, or perhaps only al yedei Kabbalah sa'adam. So seemingly we could have said that. So why is the Rebbe? But in the Sikha it's clear that no. The only possibility of saying the two Eifanim that it's either al yedei Kabbalah sa'adam or bal karcha is only within the first approach, that it's not a hispashtus of Shabbos. But in the third Eifin that it's a hispashtus of Shabbos itself, we don't say these two possibilities that maybe it's al yedei Kabbalah sa'adam or bal karcha. Why not? So l'chura, the answer would be pashut. That in the third tzad, that it's a hispashtus of Shabbos, so Shabbos is mispashet. So it has nothing to do with a person. The vart is Shabbos itself is mispashet milfanav milachrav. So yeah, that's automatic. There's no question here how that's going to happen. Does the person have to be mekabel upon himself or not mekabel upon himself? Who's the person? Meretach wegen Shabbos atzma. Shabbos gufa is mispashet, so it has nothing to do with you. It's something which happens. So b'meil in the third oifin, it doesn't make sense to declare, do you need Kabbalah sa'adam? Do you not need Kabbalah sa'adam? Because the point is, Shabbos gufa is mispashet, and therefore the zman of Tosfos Shabbos becomes kodesh b'kedushas HaShabbos. It's only in the first tzad, that it's not a hispashtus of Shabbos. It's either Galata Isra Asiyas Malacha on the Gavra, like in the Pnim, or like in the Ha'ara where it has some Kedusha, but not Kedushas HaShabbos. Okay, so now that it's not a hispashtus of Shabbos, it's something else. Okay, so now it makes sense to be chayker. How does this new din happen? How does this new chalois of Tosfos Shabbos happen? Does it require the Kabbalah of the person, or does it happen bal karcha? So it only makes sense to declare this shaila, do you need the Kabbalah sa'adam, or is it bal karcha? It only makes sense to declare such a shaila if Tosfos Shabbos is not a hispashtus of Shabbos itself. It's a din b'fnei atzma. But in the third oifen, that it's a hispashtus of Shabbos, Shabbos gufa is mispashet, so it's verstandig l'chayra that we're not going to be chayker, do you need the Kabbalah of the person or not, because we're not talking about the person. The vart is Shabbos gufa is mispashet. This is l'chayra how we would learn and how we should learn. However, be'emes it's nicht azay pashet. There's another sikh in the Lokutei Sichos in Chelik Yutes, Pashas Vaschan and Sikha Gimel, where there also he brings the same chakira of in Tosfos Shabbos. There he's talking about shchenus, and basically he brings there that shchenus we can learn shchenus in zman. You can learn in two ways. I'll read. The shchenus macht a shayches pnimis. And where do we see this? Das man was far und noch Shabbos mitzad sein shchenus le Shabbos wird nicht stane bekommt me etzem kedushas HaShabbos. So the first tzad there in Chelik Yutes he says is that shchenus makes a shayches pnimis, that the time before and after Shabbos, because of its shchenus le Shabbos, becomes nishtane bekommt me etzem kedushas HaShabbos, which is like the Oifen Hagimel in our Sikha. Or back to Chelik Yutes, he says, Beis, there's man atzmai wird nit b'kedushas Shabbos. It's not. Hayos aber as es beschrenes zum Zman von Shabbos is der Farch al ha'odam chal chiyuv ha'chana to Shabbos. But since it's close, so certain chiyuvim are chal, but the Zman is not nishtana b'kedushas HaShabbos. So the second oifen in that sikh in Chelik Yutes is basically like the first two oifanim in our sikh. Okay, but there in the sikh, when he was saying the first tzad, Das ist in Chelik Yutes. Shchenus macht das Scheiches Pnimis. Das Mann, was fahr und noch Shabbos, mit sein Shchenus le Shabbos, wird nicht stane. Das Mann changes. Bakumt mei etzem Kedushas HaShabbos. So there in R21 he says, Elo, on that word, Shelazet Tzarich Liya is Gam Kabbalah. Kedamash mi Pashtus Aloshem B'Shulchan Aruch Erechaim Shom, v'chein mefurish b'Kundras Achron, l'Shulchan Aruch Admar HaZokein, Simen Reish Sam Machalev Sivkot Gimel. So there in that Sikha he says that even when we're learning that the Zman of Tosfos Shabbos wird nicht stane und bakumt mei etzem Kedushas HaShabbos, which is like the third oifen in our Sikha, that the Zman of Tosfos Shabbos becomes not Stam Kodesh, but Kodesh B'Kedushas HaShabbos. So, but there in the Ha'ari says that this Gufa Shelazet Tzarich Liya is Gam Kabbalah. That the person has to be mekabel this upon himself, like it's mashman Shulchan Aruch. So l'chura, something is not right here. In Chelik Yutes, where he's bringing l'chura the same general chakira, so when he presents the tzad that Tosfos Shabbos, this man of Tosfos Shabbos becomes Kodesh B'Kedushas HaShabbos, but there he in the Ha'ara even says that for that you need the Kabbalah of the person. There he doesn't even ask it. It's clear, Ki'ilu, you for sure need the Kabbalah of the person. Even when we're learning that this man of Tosfos Shabbos is nishtane and bakumt me'etzem Kedushas HaShabbos, but that has to have the Kabbalah of the person. So then in our Sikha, why is this Ki'ilu not even one of the options? In our Sikha again, when he presents the third oifen, that Tosfos Shabbos is a spashtus of Shabbos itself. Shabbos is mispashet milafonov umila acharov. So in that, he doesn't declare if you need the Kabbalah Sa'adam or if it's Bal Karchai. Again, that's only a question when we're learning that it's not a hispashtus of Shabbos. It's a din b'fnei atzma, either a din Isra Asiyas Malacha or even a din Kedusha, but not Kedushas HaShabbos. So then we were declaring, as we said before, do you need the Kabbalah? Do you need the Kabbalah of the person? Do you not need the Kabbalah of the person? But in the third oifen that it's hispashtus of Shabbos, he didn't bother with this question, do you need the Kabbalah or not? And we thought it's because, as we said before, l'chura, because according to the third oifen, it's pashut, that you don't need the Kabbalah of the person, because we're saying Shabbos Gufa is mispashet, so it has nothing to do with the person. But then in Chelik Yutes, you see that even when he's understanding that Tosfos Shabbos bakumt me'etzem Kedushas HaShabbos, he doesn't just entertain the possibility of needing the Kabbalah of the person. He says b'pashtus that you do need the Kabbalah of the person. So something is not right. So I was thinking, perhaps we could say that even though it seems like these two sichos are going with the same chakira, they're actually not. There's actually a big difference between them. The vort in Chelik Yutes, the vort of Shchenus, is a different chakira to our sicha. There the vort is Shchenus. When you have two things that are b'Shchenus, two things that are neighbors in Zman, so the Shchenus is payil. The fact that they're next to each other, so one affects the other. So since Erev Shabbos is b'Shchenus to Shabbos, so Shabbos affects Erev Shabbos, and a certain time before Shabbos wird nishtane und bakumt me'etzem Kedushas HaShabbos. Or perhaps not. So there the Shaila was coming mitzad from the perspective of Shchenus. Mashenkin, in our Sicha, in Chelik Tezayin, there's no mention of the idea of Shchenus. The vort was, in the third oifen, the vort was that Shabbos is mispashet milafonov mila achrov. Die Yosef Mechol la Kodesh kommt von Shabbos allein. Die Hefze von Shabbos ist Moisef milafonov mila achrov. Die Kedusha Shabbos wird mispashet milafonov mila achrov. Ki'ilu, why does Tosfos Shabbos happen? Because Shabbos is a stark zach. Shabbos is such a powerful thing that it's mispashet. Shabbos isn't just a kedusha which stays in its place. It's so powerful, so full of energy, that it's mispashet, that leaks out into Erev Shabbos, and the Zman of Erev Shabbos becomes Kodesh B'Kedushas HaShabbos as well. So, it's a different Havana here. And perhaps that's why the idea of needing Kabbalah of the person changes. In Chelek Yutes, where we're coming from the perspective of Shchenus, that Shchenus is Poyel. Okay, so now we can understand that to say that since Erev Shabbos is B'Shchenus to Shabbos, therefore Shabbos is Poyel on Erev Shabbos, and Erev Shabbos vet nishtane und bakumt me'etzem Kedushas HaShabbos, such a svara is, it's not so convincing. Yes, they're b'shchenus, but so what? Because two things are b'shchenus, therefore one should affect the other in such a powerful way, in such a pnimistic way, that this man before Shabbos vet nishtane und bakumt me'etzem Kedushas HaShabbos because of shchenus. So there I can see why shchenus by itself wouldn't be sufficient. Just because Erev Shabbos is a shochin to Shabbos, and therefore he should become affected, ad kedei kach to become Kodesh B'Kedushas HaShabbos, seems like a stretch. So there we would need something else, sort of to push us over the edge. To mamish make that the shchenus of Erev Shabbos to Shabbos changes the Zman of Erev Shabbos and makes the Zman Kodesh B'Kedushas HaShabbos, you need something else. So then you see, okay, so he says there in the Horeb, in Chelek Yutes, Shelazeh tzarech li is gam Kabbalah. For sure. If you want that Shabbos should change Erev Shabbos mitzat shchenus, you need something else. Oh, if you include the union of the Kabbalah of the person, if the person is the Kabbalah, so then, okay, the Kabbalah of the person together with the shchenus of Erev Shabbos to Shabbos, together can make that Erev Shabbos, the Zman of Tosfos Shabbos becomes Kodesh B'Kedushas HaShabbos. But without the Kabbalah, just the shchenus itself wouldn't do it. And therefore it's also understood why in that Sikha also he's not even mesupek in this. He's not even going to ask, do you need the Kabbalah Sodom? Does it happen Bal Korchai? It's not even a Shaila. Zicher you need the Kabbalah. If you're trying to affect the Zman of Erev Shabbos, Bitzat shchenus, because it's a shochin, then for sure, for that to work, you must have another activator. The other activator is the Kabbalah Sa'adim, and therefore it's clear, like he says in the Horah there, that you have to have the Kabbalah. Mashenkin in our Sikha, back to Chelek Tezayin, we weren't coming mitzad the word of shchenus. Again, it was Shabbos is mispashet, as we said. The chefse on Shabbos is mispashet. Shabbos is so powerful, as we said. The energy of Shabbos is so powerful that it leaks out. So that word, Taka, doesn't need the Kabbalah of the person. Fakert, the Kabbalah of the person doesn't make sense. Has no connection. We're talking about Shabbos. The Chefze von Shabbos wird nispashet. That happens b'derech memela. The person's Kabbalah of Erev Shabbos, being Mekabel, Tosfos Shabbos, wouldn't make a difference. Because Tosfos Shabbos is coming from the power of Shabbos itself. The word is Shabbos itself is so powerful, it leaks over, it spills over into Erev Shabbos. So the whole koyach of Tosfos Shabbos is coming from the power of Shabbos itself. So if a person is Mekabel upon himself, Tosfos Shabbos or not, has nothing to do with anything. That's the person Erev Shabbos deciding if he's going to be Mekabel Tosfos Shabbos or not. But the koyach of Tosfos Shabbos isn't coming from Erev Shabbos; it's coming from Shabbos itself. Shabbos itself is mispashet milafonov. So of course that happens without the person's effort. So it comes out like this: that in the Sikh in Chelek Tezayin, in our Sikha, where we're understanding, again, the third oifen, that says that the Zman of Tosfos Shabbos is Kodesh B'Kedushas HaShabbos. we're understanding that the Havana behind that is a hispashtus of Shabbos itself. The Chefze von Shabbos wird nispashet milafonov. The power of Shabbos is so much that it leaks out and spills over into Erev Shabbos. So therefore, in Chelek Tezayin, it's clear that there's no Chakira here, whether you need the Kabbalah Sa'adam or not. Zicha, you don't need it. Because the whole thing is starting from Shabbos. The whole thing, the Sibbe is Shabbos Gufa. The Sibbe is Shabbos Gufa. Shabbos is Mispashet. So that happens automatically. And therefore, we're not clearing in our Sicha in the third Eifen if you need the Kabbalah of the person or not. In Chelek Yutes, even though there also he's trying to say that the Zman of Taisa Shabbos is Vet Nishtan und Bakumt me Etzem Kedushas HaShabbos. But there it's because of a different Havana. There it's not the pshat that the Chefz of Shabbos is Mispashet Milafonov. There the word is the Shchenus of the two is Poil. Since Erev Shabbos is a Shochin to Shabbos, so Erev Shabbos is affected by Shabbos. It's at Shchenus. And if it's Mitzat Shchenus, we said, then it makes sense, again, not to be Chayker, if you need the Kabbalah of the person or not. Adarabah, should be Bepashtus, you need the Kabbalah. Because for Shchenus by itself, just because I'm a Shochin to you, I should become Nishtane, B'mehusi B'teichen, because of Shchenus. Shchenus by itself, we understand, Svara Pshuta, wouldn't be able to affect Ad K'dei Kach. You need to have some other Goyrem, a Zev is a Goyrem. So for sure you need some kind of additional thing, which is the Kabbalah of the person, to help to make, the Kabbalah of the person plus the Shchenus together have the power to change the Zman and make the Zman Kodesh B'Ktushas HaShabbos. Which is why in Chelek Yutes, it's B'Pashtus that you do need the Kabbalah of the person. And Ula yesh lahamtik, this Svara, with the Lashon in the Sikha there. There, what's the Lashon? In Chelek Yutes. The Shchenus macht a Sheiches Pnimis. Der Zman, was Svara noch Shabbos mit seinen Shchenus le Shabbos, wird Nishtane. Bakumt mei etzem Kedushas HaShabbos. The word is, this is an interesting Lashon. The Zman of Taisa Shabbos, bakumt mei etzem Kedushas HaShabbos. That's the Lashon Chelek Yutes. Compare that to our Sikha. The word is, especially in the Ha'ara, in Ha'ara 24, remember, in the third Eifen, in the first two Eifanim, Kilabez Eifanim, and Al-Eine Hispashtus di Kedushas Shabbos. Ki im din Teire sheyesh Kedusha. Mashaykin Eifen HaGimel shebifnim, the word was, like it says in the Pnim, Shabbos vert nispashet. So in Chelek Yutes, the Lashon is bakumt me etzem Kedushas HaShabbos. It's not saying that the Zman becomes part of Shabbos. The Zman bakumt me etzem Kedushas HaShabbos. The time of Taisa Shabbos receives something from the etzem Kedushas HaShabbos. But that still leaves an understanding that there's far the difference. Erev Shabbos is Erev Shabbos. Shabbos is Shabbos. Nor but then, because of Shchenus, the Zman of Taisa Shabbos bakumt me etzem Kedushas HaShabbos. But it's still not the same as Shabbos. And he understands, because we're coming from the perspective of Shchenus, so inachanami. Shchenus is poil tashayches pnimis, together with the Kabbalah of the person, but sof kol sof, it's not Shabbos. Shchenus is very nice, but you live on the right side, I live on the left side, you are you, I am me. Shabbos is Shabbos, Erev Shabbos is Erev Shabbos, good we're Shchenim, so one affects the other, and it's a shayches pnimis, but for it, it's not the same. So the most I can say is that the one bakumt from the other. Erev Shabbos bakumt me etzem Kedushas HaShabbos. Mashenkin in Chelek Tezayin, as we said, it's much more powerful than Shchenus. Shabbos Gufa vert nispashet. It's a spashtus of Shabbos itself. So when Shabbos Gufa is mispashet, then the hispashtus is the same as Shabbos itself. The Zman of Tosfos Shabbos isn't just a Zman was bekommt von Kedushas Shabbos. No, Tosfos Shabbos is now the same as Shabbos. Shabbos Gufa, it was mispashed into Erev Shabbos, so Erev Shabbos becomes part of Shabbos. It's a much stronger Tosfos Shabbos. Okay, so it comes out that actually the way we're learning right now, if we stop here, so we have three ways of learning Tosfos Shabbos. 3 ways of learning Tosfos Shabbos. The first way was the Pnim of the Sikha, and that was saying that we could either learn Tosfos Shabbos, that it's a din on the Gavra of Isra Siyas Malacha, that's all. Or we could learn that it's a din in the Chefza of the Zman, that the Zman before Shabbos itself becomes Kodesh. The Zman itself changes, because Shabbos is mispashet milafonov and mila achrav. That was the first way of saying the Chakira. That was in the Pnim of the Sikha. Then in the Ha'ara, there was a second way of saying the Chakira. And the second way was to say that actually, no matter what we say, the Zman of Tosfos Shabbos has Kedusha. There's Kedusha. What's the Chakira? The Chakira is, do we say that it has Kedusha, but not Kedushas HaShabbos? The Torah gave the Zman of Tosfos Shabbos, made it holy. The Torah was Mekadosh, the Zman of Tosfos Shabbos, but it's a Kedusha b'fnei atzma. Or do we say no? Again, Shabbos is mispashet, milafonov mila achrov, and therefore Tosfos Shabbos isn't glat Kodesh. No, Tosfos Shabbos is Kodesh b'Kedushas HaShabbos. So that was in the Pnim. And according to both of these ways, we clarified that in the first way, you can then ask the next question, which is, do you need the Kabbalah of the person, or does it happen Bal Korcha? But in the third Eifen, it's clear that it happens B'derech Memela. But then we have another way of saying the Chakira, that comes from Chelak Yud Tes, where there the Chakira is different, and it's coming mitzad together of Shchenus. That if we understand Tosfos Shabbos, the mechanics of Tosfos Shabbos, that it's because of Shchenus that the two Zmanim affect each other because they live next to each other. So then we can either understand one Eifen is, let's go backwards, that they affect each other. It's only a hashpah chitzonis, it's a pula chitzonis, and therefore the Zman of Tosfos Shabbos doesn't change. Shabbos doesn't have the power to change Erev Shabbos. The Shchenus is only poil b'chitzonis. So therefore Tosfos Shabbos is a din, again, on the person, chiyuvim on the person, the Isra Siyas Malacha, whatever it is, but there's no hishtanus in the Zman Gufa. Or we could say, no, that the Shchenus is poil shaychis pnimis, and shaychis pnimis means that the Zman of Tosfos Shabbos changes when bakum with me'etzem Kedushas HaShabbos, which is a different Chakira. And we said that if you come mitzad that perspective, Shchenus, then it's clear that the only way to say that it's poil shaychis pnimis, and that the Zman changes and bakum me'etzem Kedushas HaShabbos mitzad Shchenus, is if you include also the Kabbalah of the person. You must have the Kabbalah of the person. But in our Sikha again, where it's not mitzad Shchenus, rather it's the Shabbos Gufa is mispashet, the koyach of Shabbos, the power of Shabbos is such that it spills over, so then it's klar, as the Sikha is mashma, that you don't have to have any Kabbalah. We're not even chayker if you need the Kabbalah or you don't need the Kabbalah. It's poshet that you don't, because it happens b'derech memela. Okay, so Ad Kan is the Maimer HaMuzgar. Now let's get back to our Sikha and see again how the Sikha progresses and how once again the Chakira in Tosfos Shabbos changes again. Okay, so later in the Sikha in Vav, the Rebbe brings in Orah 31 that there could be an afkamina bepoil between the way we're understanding Tosfos Shabbos, and that is that if you understand that Tosfos Shabbos is only a Isra Asiyas Malacha on the Gavra, as we suggested in the Panim, then l'chura you would not be able to be mekayim the mitzvahs of Shabbos in that time. For example, Kiddush and Sudas Shabbos, since these are mitzvahs which are mitzvahs of Shabbos. So if Tosfos Shabbos is only a din on the Gavra of Isra Asiyas Malacha, whether it's Halidei his Kabbalah or even Bal Korche, but doesn't matter. Either way, it's only a din on the Gavra. So then, obviously, you cannot be Yaitza Kiddush and Sudas Shabbos in that time. Only according to the Eifen HaGimel, that the Vortot Shabbos is mispashet milfanav and milachrov. So the Zman of Tosfos Shabbos, therefore, is like Shabbos itself. It's Kodesh B'Kedushas HaShabbos. So only according to that, Eifen, would it make sense that you could make Kiddush and have be Mekayim the mitzvah of Sudas Shabbos during the time of Tosfos Shabbos. However, this leads the Rebbe to ask the following question: that if that's the case, we're going to have a stira in the Alter Rebbe's Shulchan Aruch, and that's because B'Pashtus the Alter Rebbe paskins like the first tzad of the Chakira, that Tosfos Shabbos is not a hispashtus of Shabbos itself. Rather, it's a tzivi on the person. The person should be mekabel Tosfos Shabbos legabe Isra Asiyas Malacha. Yeah, not going to get into the rayis that this is how the Alter Rebbe paskins, but it's clear in the Sikha. He says clearly, that the Alter Rebbe is learning like the Brais in Yuma, which learns that it's not a hispashtus of Shabbos. It's again, it's a din on the person, a chiyuv on the person to be mekabel Tosfos Shabbos le'inyan Isra Asiyas Malacha. So then it should come out, as we said, that according to the Alter Rebbe, certainly you cannot be mekayim the mitzvahs of Shabbos like Kiddush and the Sudas Shabbos in the time of Tosfos Shabbos. However, the Rebbe goes on to say that that's not the case. That in Siman Reish Samach Zayin in Sif Gimel, the Alter Rebbe brings two opinions actually about this. The first opinion says, "Kashem she'omru linyan tefila, kach omru linyan kiddush hayoyim, sheyachol lekadesh v'lechol miplaga mincha l'maylo afilu im lo yispal arvis adayin." That you can make kiddush and eat to the Shabbos even without davening ma'ariv from plaga mincha. Uba'achila zushin mibayid yom yoytze deichayv suda achas megimel suda shechayv lachol b'Shabbos, and with that you could be yoytze the suda Shabbos. Why? Because since you're already mekabel Tosfos Shabbos, nasle etzli Shabbos atzman l'chol dover. And then he says, "V'yesh machmirim sheyamshich sudasoi b'layla atzmai sheyechel gezayis lepoches achatz esakichovim k'dei sheikayim gimel sudas b'Shabbos atzma." So he brings two opinions. First opinion says that you're yaitze Kiddush and Sudas Shabbos in the time of Tosfos Shabbos, all of Tosfos Shabbos, and the second opinion says you're not. You must eat at least the kezayis on Shabbos itself once it's dark. So the Rebbe is asking, how do we reconcile? If the Alter Rebbe paskins like the Gemara in Yuma, that Tosfos Shabbos is not pshat, that the zman changes, it's just the din on the Gavra that he's osur b'asiyas malacha. So then it should be clear that you cannot be mekayim the mitzvahs of Shabbos, like Kiddush and Sudas Shabbos. There's no room for a machlekes. It should be klar b'pashtus that you cannot. But no, the Alter Rebbe still brings the day that you could. So how could the Alter Rebbe bring a day that you could be yaitze the mitzvahs of Kiddush and Sudas Shabbos and Tosfos Shabbos if the Alter Rebbe holds that Tosfos Shabbos is just a din on the person, like Abba Isra Asiyas Malacha? So that's the question that he asks. So here, the Rebbe goes back to what he suggested in Ha'ara 24, if you remember. But once again here, he comes up with a change. In 24, we said, remember, that L'chol HaTzadim, Tosfos Shabbos has Kedusha. Right? There's Kedusha. The Chakira is it a hispashtus of Shabbos itself? That's the third Eifen. And therefore the Zman is not Stam Kodesh, it's Kodesh B'Kedushas HaShabbos. Or the first two Eifanim were that no, it's Taka Kodesh, but not Kedushas HaShabbos. It's a din Kedusha b'fnei atzma. So the Rebbe goes back to that, and he says that if we go back to that, perhaps we could explain the Alter Rebbe. But let's just clarify something first. That Ha'ara 24 is not sufficient to answer our question. Because in Ha'ara 24, all we're saying is that the Zman of Tosfos Shabbos has Kedusha, but it's not Kedushas HaShabbos, unless you hold like the third Eifen. But the Alter Rebbe does not hold like the third Eifen, as we said. The Alter Rebbe holds like the Gemara in Yuma, which is not the third Eifen. So even according to Ha'ara 24, the Alter Rebbe holds that if at most Tosfos Shabbos has Kedusha, but that's not Kedushas HaShabbos. So therefore the question still stands, even if you say like the Chakira is brought in the Ha'ara. That L'chol Stadim this Kedusha, but L'shitas Admor HaZaken, it's not Kedushas HaShabbos. So if it's not Kedushas HaShabbos, it's just a Kedusha b'fnei atzma. So how could you be Mekayim the mitzvahs of Kiddush and Sudas Shabbos? L'chura for Kiddush and Sudas Shabbos, it's not enough to have Kedusha, Glat, Stam Kedusha, you must have Kedushas HaShabbos. But in the first two Eifanim, there's no Kedushas HaShabbos. There's just a Stam Kedusha. So how does the Alter Rebbe, who holds, like the first two Eifanim, that there's no Kedushas HaShabbos, it's not a Hispashtus of Shabbos, at most, it's just Kedusha. So again, how does he bring the Machlokes that maybe you could be Mekayim the mitzvah of Kiddush and Sudas Shabbos in the Zman of Tosfos Shabbos? So the Rebbe says, V'la yesh loymar, this is in Ha'ara 31, the Lefian al Ha'ara 24, Shebet Tosfos yesh gam geder Kedusha. So we can say, Din ha'Torah she'efshar la'adam lekabel al atzmei Kedushas Shabbos. Perhaps we could say that the din Torah of Tosfos Shabbos means that the person can be makabel upon himself Kedushas Shabbos, like the first Eifen, that it's through the person's Kabbalah, or the Torah itself was Meisif Bal Karchai, as we said, the second Tzad, in Kedushas Shabbos. So you learn this, and you're like, 1 second. But now you're making the first two Eifanim like the third Eifen. The whole Chiddush of the third Eifen over the previous two was that according to the third Eifen, Tosfos Shabbos is Kodesh B'Kedushas HaShabbos, whereas according to the first two Eifanim, it's only Stam Kedusha. But now the Rebbe is saying, no, we could say, based on Ha'ara 24, that even in the first two Eifanim, how does it work? Din ha'Torah she'efshar la'adam lekabel al atzmei Kedushas Shabbos. It's not just Stam Kedusha, you're Makabel Kedushas Shabbos, or that Torah is Meisif Bal Karchai Kedushas Shabbos. So now, according to all three Eifanim, comes out that Tosfos Shabbos is not just Kodesh, Tosfos Shabbos is Kedushas Shabbos. So if Tosfos Shabbos is Kedushas Shabbos, according to all three Stadim, so what's the Chakira? How is the first two different from the third? The whole Chiddush of the third one was Shabbos is mispashet, and therefore the Zman of Tosfos Shabbos is Kodesh B'Kedushas HaShabbos. But now we're saying that even in the first two Eifanim, that in the first Eifen, the person's Kabbalah has the power to be Mekabel upon himself Kedushas HaShabbos, or the second Eifen, that the Torah was Meisif Bal Karchai and made the Zman of Tosfos Shabbos Kodesh B'Kedushas HaShabbos. So what's the difference? So according to all three Eifanim, Tosfos Shabbos is now Kedushas HaShabbos also. So, yes, you're answering the question how you can make Kiddush and how you can have Sudas Shabbos in the Zman of Tosfos Shabbos, but by doing that, you're basically saying that you're destroying the whole Chakira. So what are the two Tzadim now? Either what? Either it's Kodesh B'Kedushas HaShabbos, or it's Kodesh B'Kedushas HaShabbos. So the pshat is, again, we have to understand that the third Eifen, as we said before, the third Eifen is saying that Tosfos Shabbos is a hispashtus of Shabbos itself. So b'meila the third oifen is making Tosfos Shabbos mamish equal to Shabbos. Which is why the Sikha goes on to say that according to the third oifen, could even be that the loisasa of loisasa malacha applies in Tosfos Shabbos. Because Tosfos Shabbos is the same as Shabbos. If Shabbos is mispashet, if it's a spashtus of Shabbos, then Tosfos Shabbos and Shabbos is equal. Mashenkin, according to the first two tzadim, as we said before, the vart isn't that Shabbos is mispashet. It's not a spashtus of Shabbos. Shabbos is not mispashet, according to the first two Eifanim. The first Eifan is the person's Kabbalah causes a chalois. Or the second Sad is saying, you don't need the Kabbalah of the person, the Torah is Moisef Bal Karchai. But according to those two Eifanim, again, it's not that Shabbos is mispashet milafonov, there's a new chalois. There's a Tosfos Shabbos is a new chalois. It's not that Shabbos is spreading. No, Shabbos is not spreading. That's the third Eifan. But in the first two Eifanim, Shabbos is not spreading. Shabbos stays where it is. Shabbos doesn't spill. Shabbos doesn't carry over. Shabbos bleibt wo is. But Tosfos Shabbos is a new chalois. There's a new chalois, either that the person's Kabbalah has the power to make a chalois Kedushas HaShabbos, or even without the person's Kabbalah, the Torah was Moisef Bal Karchai. But it's a new chalois. It's a new chalois Kedusha. So call it even Kedushas HaShabbos. It's Kedushas HaShabbos. Now in Orah 31. But it's not a hispashtus of Shabbos. It's not Shabbos spreading. It's a new chalois. It's a new chalois Kedusha, either from the person's Kabbalah, or the Torah was Moisef Bal Karchai. It's a new chalois Kedusha. So it comes out now that we have a whole new Chakira in Orah 31. In Orah 31, it's a new Chakira. L'chol hatzdadim, l'chol haifanim, Tosfos Shabbos is Kodesh b'Kedushas HaShabbos. L'chol haifanim. Tosfos Shabbos is Kodesh b'Kedushas HaShabbos, and therefore you can make Kiddush, and you can, possibly, according to one day, and you can be Yotzei Sudas Shabbos, because it's Kodesh b'Kedushas HaShabbos. L'chol haifanim. What's the Chakira? The Chakira is like this. What is the Kedusha of Tosfos Shabbos? Do we say that it's a separate Chalois Kedusha? It's its own Chalois Kedusha, either Aladei Kabbalah Sa'adam or the Torah was Moisef Bal Karchai. But either way, it's a new Chalois Kedusha of Kedushas HaShabbos. It's Take Kedushas HaShabbos, but it's a separate Chalois Kedusha. Or do we say, like the Eifan HaGimel, it's a spashtus of Shabbos itself? There's no new Chalois Kedusha. Shabbos Gufa is mispashet. That's the Chakira. Okay, so it comes out that basically, therefore, in the Mahalach of the Sikha, the Chakira evolved from one thing to another to another. Let's just, again, trace the steps. In the Pnim, we started off saying, what's the Chakira? One side is to say, it's only a Isra Siyas Malacha. There's no Kedusha in the Zman. Or the third Eifan was to say, it's a Kedusha in the Zman. The Zman changes. Tosfos Shabbos changes and the Zman becomes a Zman Kodesh. Okay, then we went to Ha'ara 24 and we moved away from that. We said, no, L'chol hatzdadim, l'chol haifanim, this Kedusha. L'chol haifanim, this Kedusha. What's the Chakira? The Chakira is it Kedushas HaShabbos, like the third Eifan, or is it just the Kedusha, B'fnei Atzma, but not Kedushas HaShabbos? That was the Chakira. And now in Orah 31, we're moving it again. And we're saying, actually, l'chol haifanim, l'chol hatzdadim, it's Kodesh b'Kedushas HaShabbos. Tosfos Shabbos doesn't just have Stam Kedusha, it has Kedushas HaShabbos. According to always. But what's the Chakira? The Chakira now is different. This Kedushas HaShabbos that we have in Tosfos Shabbos, is it a hispashtus of Shabbos itself? Is the word Shabbos Gufa is mispashet? Or is it a separate Chalois Kedusha? So the first two Eifanim say it's a separate Chalois Kedusha, and that's how the Alter Rebbe paskins. It's a separate Chalois Kedusha. Taka Kedusha is a Shabbos, but it's a separate Chalois Kedusha, and in that Gufa could be either Al Dei Kabbalah Sa'adam or even Bal Karchai. And as we see later in the Sikha, that the Alter Rebbe holds it's both. There's a certain Zman that it's Chal Bal Karchai, and there's a Zman before that you could be Mekabel Al Dei Kabbalah Sa'adam. But those two is both a separate Chalois Kedusha. Taka Kedusha is a Shabbos, not just Stam Kedusha like we thought before. It's Kedusha is a Shabbos, but it's a separate Chalois. Or the third Eifen is to say it's a hispashtus of Shabbos itself. Shabbos Gufa is mispashit. There's no new Chalois. It's a hemshech of Shabbos. It's a spillover from Shabbos. So it's interesting how we see that the Chakira is sort of evolving. And then we also, just l'sikum, we also mentioned that besides for the three Eifanim in our Sikha of understanding the Chakira, there was also in Chelek Yutes a different approach, the word of Shchenos, which is a different way of approaching the Chakira. Is Shabbos Poyel on Erev Shabbos Bechitzonius only? Or more B'Pnimius? Okay. Obviously, there's a lot more we could have covered, a lot more to discuss. We didn't even get into the idea of Kabbalah's Tosfos Shabbos and Kabbalah's Itzumei Shel Yom, which is a beautiful discussion for itself. Aber hopefully this is enough for now. Sei gesund.